Call our meeting to order. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Ms. Wilson, do we have a confirmation of notice to media?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I do declare that we have a quorum with all board members present and Dr. Thomas. We do need to have an approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand. That's everyone. Thank you. That motion passes. If we can do our Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Varner. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. We have a long agenda, so we're going to keep moving along. Now we'll need approval for the minutes from our September 28th work session and also our September 28th board meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 28, 2021 work session and board meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the work session and meeting minutes from September 28th, please raise your hand. All those opposed? So that's 6, and Mr. Carpenter is against. The motion passes, so we'll move forward. And now we have Dr. Faulkner for the report for Lawrence 55 High School.
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Thomas and Board of Trustees, for giving me this chance to highlight what we're doing at Lawrence High School this year. Our district theme this year challenges us to be champions for every child, every chance we get, and every day of the school year. Our chance to be champions for our children at Lawrence High School actually start when they're in middle school. I guess I need to, can you hear me? Actually start when they're in middle school, sometimes in the 7th grade, they take high school courses. So as they take those courses in the 7th grade, they are preparing to come to high school, and then they're allowed to take courses in the 8th grade as well. Every year from 8th grade to their senior year, our guidance counselors, our administrators work with them to work on their goals for post-secondary, what they plan to do after high school. If you will look at, on the slide, you will see that registration is probably the one way at this point that we actually touch every kid in our school. Every student goes through the registration process. This year, we're going to start something new. Our guidance counselor for the 9th grade, registrar, and instructional coaches are going to partner with the middle schools to work with their counselors and their CDFs to be sure those 8th graders are on the right track as they come into the high school this year. So we're hoping that collaboration will be good for us and make sure that our students come in the right place that they should be. We're starting a new communication plan with our students this year. We created grade level teams, and if, you can barely see the picture, I think, of the book that's being passed around our school, and each team gets this book and they see the names of students that are in that grade level. And they put a check beside whether they know this student, whether they taught this student, whether they know something about this student. And what we will do at the end when that book comes back to us is we will look to see if there are students in that book that have no relationship in our school. Dr. Thomas challenged us to do this early in the year, and we have a lot of students at the high school, so we had to come up with a unique way to do this. And so we will look at that book and try to forge relationships when we get those books back from our staff. Another way that, I'm sorry, I think I went too far. Okay. Another way that we collaborate with our middle schools is that we, I'm sorry, I'm not used to this. Another way that we work with our students every chance we get at Lawrence High School is to prepare them for the future. As we bring students into our high school, they have several tracks that they can take. There are students who might go directly into the military, and we have NJROTC, which is a naval-based ROTC unit. They may also go directly into the workforce. We have a number of CAPE programs where they can complete a CAPE program and go directly into the workforce if they choose to do that. They can also go to technical school by going through our middle college, and if they go through our middle college, they leave us with an associate's degree, or they can enter college with as juniors in most cases. So we have, ways that they can find tracks as well. The other things that we do is we do everyday life preparation at Lawrence High School. We collaborate together to try to create opportunities for students to live up to their expectations as they enter our school each day. We expect them to have IDs on. We expect them to be on time. And it's a learning process. It takes time to do that. We also have some after-school activities that they are able to go to and work at that, and they have a regular bell schedule. But we also have some event schedules that we work with as well. Our district goals this year, Dr. Thomas gave us 3 goals that she would like for us to work toward as a district, and we embrace these goals every single day. One of the goals that she gave us and asked us to collaborate with, and we have adopted, and I think Lawrence High School probably does it really well because we have probably the hardest school in the district to keep safe because there's so many gates and there's so many doors. So first of all, we strive on safety for all of our staff. We want to keep our students safe, and that begins as they drive in the gate. We have security at our front gate. Each student that drives onto our campus has a numbered parking space, and their tag matches that numbered parking space. We have people on duty each and every morning out back as they come into the loop, as well as going through the bus loop. And so they're on duty. They recognize the same people every day, and they work toward making sure that they're there and where they're supposed to be as we work toward that goal of safety. We complete drills. We have team captains in every building of our school. These team captains meet with our safety teams, and they learn what they need to do for their particular buildings in order to keep it safe, because every building at Lawrence High School has a different safety need. The buses are at one end, the car loop is at one end, so those are different safety needs that we have at our school. When students come into our school, they can, we feel like we give them high quality instruction. We believe that we're improving student achievement at our school, and so here are some ways that we're doing that. Another thing that we do for safety is we make sure our students have hall passes as they come into if they leave the building. We make sure they are leaving any building that they're in, we make sure they have hall passes with them, and we have explicit doors that they go through at the high school as well. We believe that our high quality instruction has to do with our teachers. We have hired a number of teachers this year that are certified teachers in English and math. We feel like all of our core departments are staffed well, and we also had our teachers to have a common syllabus ready by the beginning of the school year. And that syllabus is not exactly alike. The departments worked on those. They had some common goals in those syllabi, but they also looked at by department and completed that. And those are some of the pages to that syllabus. Some of the ways, and this is probably the thing that we pride ourselves the most on, is how we plan to improve student achievement for all students at Lawrence High School. Whether they go into college, technical school, the military, the workforce, some of them get behind, and we want to be sure that they're where they need to be. We have grade level academic teams that meet with each of these students that are failing, whether they're failing on days or whether they're failing by grades. Those teams, and there's a couple of pictures of them meeting with the students to see what they can do to help them. We have a final assessment plan that allows students to take a final assessment, and then they work toward mastery in all courses. We've asked that they do this in all courses. Even the EOC courses have some type of final assessment that they work with as well. One other thing that we do with our middle schools, to collaborate with our middle schools as well, is we have something called Project Lead the Way. Not only are they able to take courses, and Ms. Tolles and Dr. Thomas asked that I mention this to you, but they have a Project Lead the Way starts in the middle school, and we get our students ready to come to the high school. It is a nationally accredited program where they can start in middle school and come and learn things in biomedical sciences. They can learn engineering techniques, skills that they can use in real world situations. So that is another thing that we really enjoy about working with the middle schools, and are hoping to collaborate more and more with those middle schools as we move forward. If there are no questions, I have been told to keep it short and sweet, so y'all threw me off my game, but I'm gonna do it. Any questions, please feel free to visit us. I cannot do Lawrence High School justice by no means, but you know, you can visit us at any time. Yes, sir.
I'll throw you one. When are you planning on having your check-in book back?
Well, we said that the first ones back get a prize.
Yeah.
So we are hoping to finish that part in October so that we can touch every kid that's in our building before December and set them up. And then at the end of the year, what we're hoping to do is get 8th grade rosters and be able to do that with the 8th grade, and maybe plan some events in the summer with student council to get them in the building and get them to know people as well. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Faulkner. All right, and now we're moving right along, and Dr. Thomas, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and those in the audience. It is a joy to share some of the great things happening across Lawrence County School District 55. I hope you all will connect with the school district through our website and on social media, and follow our hashtag of Lawrence L55 Champions, where pictures and video clips are shared, highlighting our theme for the 2021-2022 school year of Be a Champion. Be a champion for every child, every chance, every day. As champions, we're focused on our goals of safety, high quality instruction, and improved student achievement. Our mission statement of empowering and inspiring all to be educated and informed remains at the forefront of our thoughts and efforts. As noted in our district vision statement, Lawrence 55 prepares students for success in learning and careers through engaging, challenging, and personalized learning experiences. We are rebranding our former 30 for 30 reading initiative as the Just Take 30 Family Literacy Campaign. Students are asked to read for 30 minutes outside of the school day each day. Schools are doing different activities and hosting various events to help promote the initiative and spread the love of reading. I hope the families of our students in grades kindergarten through 8th are enjoying our One School, One Book initiative. Students in kindergarten through 5th grade are reading The World According to Humphrey. Our 6th through 8th grade students are reading Restart. These books both have a similar theme of kindness. During the second semester, grades 9 through 12 will be brought on board with a book as well. This is an exciting opportunity for our community to enjoy the same books at the same time. As part of Lawrence 55's commitment to providing all students and staff a safe, caring, and respectful learning environment each day, we've been observing World Bullying Prevention Month during October. Various activities have taken place throughout the district this month. On October the 13th, everyone was encouraged to wear blue in an effort to blue up against bullying. The school district has very clear expectations of students and staff regarding bullying. If a student feels he or she is being bullied, they're asked to immediately report this to an adult. October is also National Disability Employment Awareness Month. This year's theme, America's Recovery, Powered by Inclusion. On September the 28th, the Lawrence County School District 55 Interagency Committee hosted an event to bring awareness to the various contributions Americans workers with disabilities provide to our nation's workforce. Our local mayors were on hand and each signed a proclamation reinforcing the value and talent people with disabilities add to our workplaces, communities, and economy. Mayors Stella Team Jones of Graycourt, Bob McLean of Clinton, and Nathan Sand of Lawrence, as well as Barbara Smith of Waterloo, each signed. Those proclamations have been displayed in the district administrative offices. A luncheon was also held at the Ridge on October the 11th. Thank you so much to Ms. Short and the Interagency Committee for their hard work on making these events possible. We're so excited that we had our first commitment to commencement ceremony that was held in the gym at Lawrence District High School on October the 21st. This was a great opportunity to share with our ninth graders and relay to them the vast importance of committing to completing their high school years on being a member of the class of 2025. Over 450 students signed a pledge and walked across the stage to make a commitment to graduate. We're also thankful for the encouraging words and songs provided by season 18 finalist of The Voice, Cam West. This program encouraged students to set goals, work hard, and dream big. The students have approximately 2 million minutes from the end of their 8th grade year until graduation. The students were reminded to use their minutes wisely. The first 2 sessions of our free virtual Parent Academy series for this school year are scheduled for Thursday, October the 28th. Realizing that families have many activities in the evenings, we have arranged for a lunch and learn format session on the 28th from 11:45 a.m. until 12:45 p.m. The topic is In Focus Parent Resources. There will also be an evening session offered on October the 28th from 6 until 7 p.m. The topic for this session is Ending the Silence. Both sessions are free to participants, but registration is required. The registration links are on the district website at www.lawrence55.org. We are very appreciative of the district's long-standing partnership with Michelin. Their support is not something taken lightly by the school district. Recently, Michelin USA visited Waterloo Elementary School to present Principal Pharrell Thomas with $2,000 of STEM equipment for the school's innovative STEM lab. The school is also the recipient of a $1,000 grant to assist with hosting a STEM parent night. High-quality instruction and improved student achievement are directly affected by our ability to provide STEM education and activities. Thank you, Michelin USA. Representatives from the Lawrence County Development Corporation, Piedmont Technical College, and Lawrence County School Districts 55 and 56 had an opportunity to tour and explore the Woolard Technology Center as a model career center facilitated by Kershaw County's Central Carolina Technical College. A career center is definitely needed for our students and community. We are continuing conversations and collaboration efforts to determine options to make this possible. It is with great excitement that I share news about our new certification program beginning in the spring of 2022 for seniors. Partnering with Piedmont Technical College, Lawrence District High School will offer courses to help students earn emergency medical technician certification. This is a 1-semester course of study that includes instruction and proper pre-hospital emergency care of sick and injured people. Instruction is based on the National EMS Scope of Practice model and state regulations. Program graduates may then complete the licensure qualifications to become an ENT. We're so very excited about this opportunity and the partnership with Piedmont Tech. We have purchased a mobile ambulance that will be set up to provide students with real-world, hands-on experiences while completing this course of study. As we know, when temperatures turn cooler, we must be aware of the impact that winter weather can have on our school district. We have received information from the South Carolina Department of Education regarding missed days of school in such situations. So I want to provide that information to you all. We have 3 makeup days in our 2021-2022 district calendar. These days are May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd. If weather conditions impact our area, we have to miss more than 3 days, the following regulations apply. Closed 4 to 6 days, our school board may waive the missed days or determine to make up days by lengthening the school day for at least 1 hour a day. The school board also has the option to operate the school on Saturday in order to meet the requirements of a makeup day. Closed 6 to 9 days, our school board may request a waiver from the South Carolina Board of Education to forgive the days. We've had many schools doing a lot of great things with literacy to support our literacy initiative. E.B. Morris Elementary School sponsored a book character pumpkin decorating family literacy project. The students did an outstanding job with this project. We're also very proud that Lawrence FFA won first place in the State Tractor Operations and Safety Career Development event. Congratulations to the team members, Hayden McHone, Tucker McHone, Ben Thomason, and Luke Penland. Also, congratulations to Ms. Melanie Birchmore and Mr. Kyle Penland, the agriculture teachers at LDHS, along with the FAA chapter advisors. We're so very proud of this outstanding achievement. We're also very proud and happy that we had our LDHS Assistant Band Director, Nathan Culp, who was recently presented the Golden Apple Award from WYFF4 and Ingalls Supermarket. So congratulations to Nathan for that accomplishment. Congratulations to some of our champion employees in Lawrence 55. I would like to take this opportunity just to thank all of our staff, all of our employees and our teachers and our staff and administrators for all the work that they do each day. We are very excited to announce that Ms. Merica Dyer, 3rd grade teacher at Gray Court Owens, was selected as the certified Spirit of 55 winner for this month. These are qualities that we ask to be considered for nomination. Strong communicator, focus on collaboration, adaptable, flexible, engaging, patient, and definitely does instruction with including best practices. Also, a huge shout out to Ms. Frankie Wilson for being selected as the Spirit of 55 Support Staff of the Month. She is also from Gray Court Owens School. And the qualities for this award: strong work ethic, dependable, positive attitude, self-motivated, team-oriented, and an effective communicator. We've also started this year recognizing our Champion Induction Teachers of the Month. These are our teachers in their first year of teaching. Congratulations to Ms. Victoria Garrett for being nominated and selected as the Induction Teacher of the Month for October. Ms. Garrett is a first grade teacher at Ford Elementary School. This year, we are also recognizing our champion administrators throughout the district. This could be principals or assistant principals. I would like to give a huge congratulations to Mr. Josh Dawkins for being selected as the October Champion Administrator of the Month for Lawrence County School District 55. We're so thankful for his passion, energy, drive, and love for students. Each month, National Principals Month recognizes the essential role that principals play in making a school great. Principals set the tone for their schools, and it is their vision, dedication, and determination that provide the mobilizing force for achieving student success. Please join me in taking time to thank our hardworking Lawrence 55 principals this month. Presbyterian College made an important announcement last week about the purchase of the historic Capitol Theater as an entertainment and performing arts venue. The theater will serve as the home venue for the esports teams of Presbyterian College, Lawrence Districts 55 and 56, and the Lawrence Parks and Recreation League. Esports is a form of competition using video games. Esports often takes the form of organized, multiplayer video game competitions, particularly between professional players individually or as teams. This is an excellent opportunity for our students to develop their skills and passions for esports. We're so excited, and the part that I'm most excited about is that the scholarships that will be available for students to help our students pursue their dream of going to college. Our Lady Raiders tennis team finished their regular season second in Region 2 4A. The team hosted and won the first round playoff match against Lancaster High School. The Lady Raiders will travel to AC Flora High School on October the 26th for a second round playoff match. Congratulations to our Lady Raiders tennis team. The Lady Raiders varsity volleyball team finished third in Region 2 4A of regular season play. The team journeyed to Rock Hill on October 21st, where they played against South Point High School. The outcome was not in the Lady Raiders' favor, but this team has played extremely well this year, and we congratulate them on their success. The Raider Marching Band has qualified to participate in the State 4A Band Competition scheduled for October the 30th at Spring Valley High School. Congratulations to our Raider Marching Band. Two of the Raiders varsity football team players have recently been honored for their achievements. Jordan Roberts, a junior, was announced as the Lawrence County Touchdown Club Player of the Week on October the 21st. And Zy Todd, a senior, has been selected to play in the North-South All-Star Game in Myrtle Beach on December the 11th. Congratulations to these guys as well. It is so hard to believe that we are approaching the holiday season. Please mark your calendars for the following upcoming holidays. Thanksgiving holidays, November the 24th through the 26th. Winter holidays, December the 17th is a half day for students. December the 20th through the 31st, all schools and offices will be closed. January the 3rd is a staff development work day, and January the 4th, students will return. This concludes the district updates portion of the agenda, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
One question I've got with the PC purchase of the cafeteria. Will our creative arts department at the high school be able to use that facility at all?
Yes, from the understanding, and all of the logistics have not been worked out yet. However, that is really the purpose, is so that the community and the schools can use the venue.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas.
Okay. At this time, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Rhett Harris, who will introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. It's my pleasure to introduce Todd Johnson. Todd is the former Chief Deputy for Newberry County Sheriff's Office. He's currently a member of the Newberry County Council. He has helped implement RAVE in Newberry County, was instrumental in that, and he's currently consulting not only with our district, but also with District 56 and with Lawrence County Emergency Management 9/11 with Joey Avery. And I would like to say that Joey Avery has been instrumental in getting RAVE brought to Lawrence County and to our district, and this is something that County Council has agreed to pay for, and we're going to be able to tag along. And Todd is going to talk with you a little bit about the RAVE system. Todd.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
What a blessing and honor it is to be with you this evening. As Dr. Harris said, he just turned out to be such a great friend, and I'm thankful for him. I've been doing some consulting with your district for about 3 or 4 years now. If you've heard the cell phone and social media program, that is me. That is a program that I designed and have implemented. I consult with somewhere between 4 and 12 districts in South Carolina, depending on what's going on at the time. I have been through Secret Service, threat assessment for school safety, worked closely with the Department of Justice and sat on their technical working group for school safety for development of new technology across the nation. And so I do bring a background of school safety with me. As Dr. Harris rightly said, thank you. I would also like to give a huge shout out to Joey Avery, who made this possible. They came down to Newberry County while I was still the new chief deputy there. And Joey used some creative financing, as I like to call it. And so he was able to provide this for both school districts. And I think this is awesome for everybody. So I think you'll appreciate it. The Rave app, I don't work for them. We just implemented it, and I think it's a great app. The app uses cell phone technology, which is something that is available to almost everybody in the world in today's climate. And it works by drawing geofences around the facilities that we want to be notified for. So all of your schools, your district office all have geofences that are drawn around them. Geofences are basically lines that are drawn in a computer technology world so that we set up when the app should work and how the app should work inside of that facility. And each one of your facilities has been drawn. The app provides different types of alerts. There is one for an active threat. It used to be active shooter, but now we use active threat because we're seeing more knife attacks. There's also medical, fire, and police. I will tell you, in Newberry County, we saw the medical app used far more than any of the others. People fall on playgrounds, they get hurt, heads get busted open, legs get broken, bad things just happen when you put that many kids together sometimes, unfortunately. So not that they're mean to each other, it just accidents happen. It dramatically reduces the amount of time it takes to get that campus into lockdown and to get first responders on the way to that facility. And the example that I use, and Dr. Harris and several others have been in that, is we used it several times in Newberry County before I retired. One of them, we had a young man who brought a gun to school. The teacher went to confront the young man. The gun fell out of the book bag, hit the ground. He took off running. Teacher thought he may have more guns. He may be going to carry out a plan. That teacher hit the active assailant button on the Rave app. Newberry High School, which I would say would be just smaller than Lawrence High School, probably equivalent with Clinton High School, was in complete lockdown in 45 seconds based on the use of the app. That is priceless in today's world, to be able to get kids to safety in that amount of time. And the first officer was in the door, had gotten a notification on her phone and was in the door in just over 2 minutes. In active shooter world, as I tell when I train at the schools, we are trained that for every 30 seconds a shooter has access to victims, at least one person will die. If we can shave 10 to 12 minutes off of the response time that it takes first responders to get there, we're saving 20 to 30 or even more lives, depending on what the situation is. And so I think that you should be commended for the foresight to put this in. It also has staff assist for general messages like need administrators, need access, those kind of things. It also lets the district office know what's going on, so we're not dependent upon them having to make those notifications. And all the personnel who do not have district office phones are told that this is optional for them. If the school district doesn't provide their phone, we don't make them put anything on their phones, and we tell them that you can't reimburse them for using their phone. But based on the level of safety that this provides, we really believe that it's worth the effort, and we've had very little resistance to anybody. Once we go through the program and the training with them, we've seen very little resistance to anybody going, oh, this is a really bad idea, but instead they've seen the usefulness for this for safety. And so I think this is a cutting edge technology. I think it's going to bring a tremendous amount of safety and communication throughout the district. My job is to be brief, and as a pastor and a former police officer and vice chair of council, I'm not used to that. So I would say, Dr. Faulkner, I will pick at her just a minute. We were doing the administrators training at Lawrence High School, and we did a test. And it was, what, less than a minute, our phone started ringing going, are you testing the RAVE app? Because we're scared to death that there really is an active shooter at Lawrence High School. So it works. Once we get all of your schools on board, we will then carry this through Joy. I've already working with the sheriff's office on some other projects, so that's going to be a natural fit. And so we will get it to your law enforcement, we will get it to your EMS crews, we will get it to your fire departments, at least the commanders, and you're going to see a dramatic improvement in the way public safety in your schools interact. So you should be excited, you should be proud of what you are doing, and you should be proud of what your staff is doing. And other than that, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
So this program is to be put on the phone.
The sound was behind me, it messed me up.
Sorry about that.
I thought somebody was going to jump me down.
So this is just for administrators, teachers. This is not student level.
No, ma'am. We do not put it down to the student level because there is a fee for the licenses used, for one thing. And the second thing is sometimes they don't make the best decisions when it comes to technology like this. And so, and I would say that the app is set up to where we have to, Dr. Harris and Bill and I have been working together. We get an Excel sheet of the people who are at the school, and we put their names in, and they can't download it. Well, they can download it, but they can't enroll in the app nor be registered for any campus unless we've already put their name, their cell phone number and email address in the system. So it prevents outside people from getting this app and kind of invading in what's going on around you. And we'll keep that updated and make sure that you've got a good working list of who should be getting this information.
And how many schools have you been able to work with in our district so far?
We have put 3 schools in, and we have 1 pending next Tuesday afternoon. In fact, I believe I'm going to Great Court Owings, if I remember correctly, next Tuesday. And so what we've been doing is going to the after-school program on Tuesday for the teachers, staff meetings, whatever terminology you choose,
Right.
teacher meetings, whatever you would like to use. And we take about 45 minutes, and I have a PowerPoint. I didn't want to go through it. I know y'all will receive death by PowerPoint, so remember me for no PowerPoint in my brevity tonight as I go. So, but we actually I use a picture from the shooter in Florida as he was approaching the school, and I had them talk me through what it would look like to get a lockdown together for their campus and to get law enforcement there. And what we usually end up with is somewhere between 12 and 15 minutes. And now, how can we reduce this and make it now? You're in lockdown in less than a minute, law enforcement there in 2 to 3 minutes. Does that change this whole scenario for everyone? And absolutely it does. So we walk them through that.
This app basically gives the administrators or the teachers like a panic button.
It's exactly what it's called, panic button, actually.
And it's linked with like central dispatch and.
Yes, sir. Joey is setting that up. I was actually in his office 3 weeks ago, Dr. Harris, I think it was, and I'm helping him set it up so that he's got that in dispatch. So as soon as they hit that button, it's going to go off. I would say one thing I left out that might be of interest to you is the app works both on cell phone signal and Wi-Fi because schools aren't always conducive to cell phone signal, and so it will work on the school Wi-Fi as well.
Okay.
Thank you for those questions. Those were great questions. Anyone else?
So they're gonna pay for it for an extended period of time, or 1 year, or just continuous?
That would be a Joey Avery question, but my belief, based on the fact that not only has he put it in both school districts, but he wants to do it in some of the county buildings as well, is he's making a long-term commitment to provide this to your district. And again, Joey didn't pay me to say this, but kudos to him for doing this to see a better, safer school district for Lawrence 55. Anyone else? Dr. Harris, anything I didn't cover that you wanted me to?
Thank you, Mr.
so much
Johnson.
for your time. It's my honor. Thank y'all for letting me work with you as you have, and I look forward to a continued great working relationship.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson and Dr. Harris. And we're very excited about this as a safety measure for our district. Yes, ma'am. The town of Waterloo has submitted a request that the district permit a Waterloo sign be placed on the northern edge of the Waterloo Elementary School property. Your packet included a picture and dimensions of the proposed sign. I'm presenting the request from the town of Waterloo for consideration of the board. This will require board action.
So everyone had a chance to review that in your packet. If anyone would like to make a motion at this time, and then we can certainly discuss and ask questions as well.
I'll make a motion that the board allow the town of Waterloo to place a welcome sign on the north edge of the property of Waterloo Elementary School.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
Second.
Thank you. We have well, let's take questions. Sorry about that. Do we have any questions or discussions on it?
How big is the sign gonna be? I didn't see that.
Yes, it's,
Isn't it fine?
there, but I can't
It's
remember.
5 feet and then a 6 by 6. There's a
Okay.
picture
And it has, I can't
of that, and
Mr. Patterson?
Oh, it is red.
Okay.
I see that. Okay.
So no questions or discussion. We'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of the approving the town of Waterloo to place a sign on the edge of the property at Waterloo Elementary, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. Thank you. The motion passes.
thank you. I will definitely let the mayor know of the board's decision. Thank you. At this time, I would like to ask Dr. Brink to come to share information regarding the Cognia Accreditation Initial Exit Review.
It is my great pleasure to give you the exit review from the accreditation visit that we just recently had. This is a great visual image that they gave us at the end. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. That gives you they ask every group that they interview, give one word to describe what you think of when you think of Lawrence 55, and this is what you call a wordle. So it populates all of the words, and whatever word is said the most often, it comes to the forefront. It's the largest, and so you can obviously see some of our very large words: family, community, home, comfortable, focused, innovative. So I thought that was a very good visual and was very well representative of our visit. This is a great thing. We had 166 people participate in our focus groups. And it just did my heart good. I jumped in at the very beginning of every focus group just to make sure everybody was on. But just for a little comparison, the last time they visited in person 5 years ago, we had a few less than 166 in the focus group. So this was a great opportunity for them at least to be able to speak to a wide variety of participants. In the general findings, these are fun. These come up one at a time. Okay. Based on the evidence that they reviewed, what the team did is they evaluated the district on each standard, and they evaluated, there's one more, there it is, evaluated each standard 5 times using the rubric. So they definitely went through, and these are the things, these are the common themes where they thought we excelled, and there were several, and things that cropped up lots of times in their focus groups. So leadership, professional growth opportunities, formal supervision and evaluation processes, mentoring of staff and students, quality assurances of system effectiveness, relationships, opportunities for students, strong culture and climate, digital resources, and 30 for 30. Boy, they knew what that was by the time they finished. So we're rebranding, but they knew what 30 for 30 was. And then finally, the areas of key findings is basically what they said are our next steps. What are our areas or our next steps that we need to focus on coming out of this review? And they said data analysis, and we sort of knew that, looking at longitudinal data over time. Student creativity and collaboration, and in the last couple of years that's kind of been squashed a little bit when we put up plexiglass and things. So that's an area, those are our next steps. Community and stakeholder engagement, what does that look like internally and externally with our communications? And then the differences between lower level and high school professional learning communities, and making sure that we meet the needs of what does a professional learning community for our teachers look like at an elementary school versus what are the needs at a high school. So those are some of the areas that they have challenged us to look forward to. We're going to get a final report within 30 days, so I'm hoping that will be in the next couple of weeks. And what they're going to give is a rating for each standard. They're going to give an index of education quality. Then they're going to give us a narrative of the things, of the key findings, as well as, you know, where they pulled their evidence from. So they're gonna direct us back to what we submitted and say, this is where we got that information from. This is what in the focus groups we pulled that from, and that will guide our implementation moving forward. So that's where we stand right now, and I hope to get that information early November, end of November, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. But we had a very successful review, and I thank everyone for being involved in that, and I'm glad it's successfully completed. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Brink. Dr. Jody Penland will now provide COVID updates and information regarding the recently updated quarantine guidance from DHEC.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we'll start with our COVID dashboard update. Did want to give you kind of where our numbers are as of this past Friday. We have 39 students positive, 1 staff positive, 125 students quarantined, 3 staff quarantined, with the numbers of 168 total as of this past Friday. A little bit of a breakdown of where our numbers are and were. We did have a spike at Gray Court a couple of weeks ago with up to about 35, 37 positive cases, and they were around 150 quarantine students. Currently they're running about 44, as of Friday they were at 44 students quarantined, 22 students positive, and you can see that out of the 39 positive student cases in the district, 22 of those were at Gray Court. I did run the numbers just looking at what's happening today and tomorrow. We do have 53 students coming off of that 69 that were either returned to school today or will return to school tomorrow. So their numbers will be back down in the teens for total number of students out. So their numbers have very much now starting to mirror the rest of the district, where our numbers are a little bit lower now than they were during our spike. So you can also see when we look at our spike, we did have a high spike this year. So whenever you're looking at our highest number, we had 204 out at one time positive, with 741 quarantined at one point in time, and now we're down to 40 positive and 125, I think that's what that says, 125 quarantined. That's where we are as of this past Friday. So I hope those numbers continue to decline over the next few days and weeks. Also looking at our dashboard, this is another piece that we look at, the percentage of students out. We did get very close to this 5% or greater than 5% out at Gray Court last week. They were at 4.92%, so that would have been when we started having discussions about, do you close based on a 5% positive rate or more? The percent out of the building got to about 28, 29%. So we were also close to the number in both of those situations with their spike. But like I said, those numbers have come down and looking like they will continue to come down over the next 2 days. Whenever we're looking at what we report to DHEC, that's also something that we do a weekly report to and enter the number of positives and current quarantines for both students and staff. And you can see that we also have to report the number of percent of students that have gone from quarantine to isolation. The question was posed last month that we met, was where do those students fall based on their quarantine to isolation students? The 117 there, we have 117 students that were in quarantine that have gone into the positive area after they were quarantined. So whenever we're looking at that data, we can see that school-based contact shows about 20% of those students that were contacted in the school became positive, but a lot of that is also when they were exposed to other people in their families. So if their brother, their sister, their grandmother, their mama, or a parent was positive, they are turning isolated, they're more likely to get it there. So, also an update about our Thermo Fisher Scientific DHEC vendor providing our collection of samples to also do our PCR test. That was tentatively set to start today, but they had an issue with the kind of connection with DHEC and this vendor to be able to get all the rights that they needed to get set up. So they were actually starting to be able to have our November 1st start for our PCR test. That is a 24-hour, 48-hour test that will be available for students and staff to get screened, to get tested, to get returned to test, return to school test. So anybody that wants a test, just to say, I think I may have been exposed, that will be available for anybody now, starting on November the 1st. And we'll have a schedule that they can come here to get that done, and we'll also be at each school once a week to provide those tests. Questions about the DHEC, the COVID dashboard?
You're gonna have a nurse here to do those tests at the DO?
There will be a, Thermo Fisher Scientific has partnered with a kind of a independent contractor that will provide somebody, and we met her today. She was on site for the first time, and she will be here the rest of this week getting set up and getting ready for testing to start on Monday. She went around and met all the nurses at all the schools today and made contact at all the schools today. So.
At the school level, will the nurses be responsible for those tests?
They will not. The vendor that we are providing, they'll provide a full-time person that will test here in the mornings and go to the schools and test in the afternoons.
Gotcha.
They are allowed to use this test also, so if somebody wants a PCR and she's not there, they'll have some on hand that they can send off also.
Okay.
So the next thing on the agenda is the DHEC close contact definition. We did receive information from DHEC that they revised their definition of what close contact was. We were utilizing the 6-foot rule, so if somebody was 6 feet away from somebody or up to 6 feet, they would have to be quarantined if they were in contact with them for 15 minutes or more. That did change from 3 feet kind of from the summer. That went to 6 feet once the Delta became more of a spreadable disease. And then also whenever they revised this past couple of weeks, they changed that down to that if somebody is wearing a mask and is exposed within 3 feet, they do not have to quarantine. So that did allow those that are choosing to wear masks, protection did allow them to not quarantine if they were exposed between that 3 to 6 foot rule. So based on this would be a change to inside the reopening plan that is referenced, that it's not actually spelled out in the reopening plan what our quarantine rules are, but it is a link to the definition of quarantine. That's the update that we're providing, that this link does kind of point to new definition of what quarantine is. What questions do you have?
So currently, we have no quarantine policy other than the link to the
That's right.
DHEC.
We basically say in our
Definition.
reopening plan that it reads, South Carolina DHEC recommendations will be followed for contact tracing to determine isolation and quarantine criteria for students and staff. Contact tracing will be done by those individuals, nurses and school administrators who have completed training to perform this duty. For additional information, please visit the following websites, and those websites are what we're changing the reference to, because that is now a different link that allows for this updated 3-foot rule with masks. Any questions before we do? We have this down for board action since it's a change in this reopening plan.
With further discussion and explanation as to why, I would like to make a motion that we amend our quarantine policy in the 2021-2022 Safe Return to In-Person Instruction and Continuity of Service is planned to state that quarantine or isolation should only be used if 1, a student tests positive, 2, a student shows symptoms, or 3, has a family member who has tested positive.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the table to adjust the quarantine policy as currently linked in our document. It would be adjusted to reflect there would be only quarantines under these conditions. The student tests positive, the student actually shows symptoms, or if the student is in the same household with a person that has been tested positive. All those in favor of this motion? Oh, I'm sorry, let's discuss, excuse me. We'll open the floor for any discussion. Sorry about that.
So my reasoning behind making that motion is based off of this information from DHEC. If this states that fully vaccinated people and people verified who have been infected with COVID in the previous 90 days who were in close contact with someone who has COVID-19 but does not have COVID-19 symptoms do not need to quarantine. It also states that, once again, if you're wearing a mask, you don't have to quarantine. If you are fully vaccinated, you don't have to quarantine. However, if you speak with DHEC and ask, can fully vaccinated people contract COVID-19? The answer to that is yes. If you ask if fully vaccinated people can transmit COVID-19 to vaccinated or unvaccinated people, the answer to that is yes. So if by their recommendations we're allowing vaccinated people with no symptoms to walk around without quarantining, we're exposing everybody, vaccinated or unvaccinated, to be open to getting COVID-19. So therefore, unless you show symptoms or test positive, or you live in a household where you can't get out of isolation with somebody who tests positive, there is no need to quarantine for that matter. That's just how I see it. Now, obviously, there's more detail that needs to be discussed, certain wording that needs to be discussed from administrative level as to how to possibly implement some of that. That's why the motion was a basic motion. We would obviously need to discuss, what the accurate wording needs to be. We've got some information from District 56 where they have changed their quarantine policy. And I know that it's not those specific words. That's why I say some of that needs to be adjusted. But this week, Friday, their numbers, they are not quarantining students who do not show symptoms. They had 0 staff positive, 0 staff quarantined. They had 2 students positive and 0 quarantined. I'm not saying that their policy change made any difference. I'm just saying the fact that they changed that 3 weeks ago, and those are their numbers. How do you argue against it?
I do think they have in their policy that contact tracing is still done.
That's correct, yeah.
In order to allow the nurse to communicate with parents. If those parents choose to quarantine their child, they can.
They can.
But then that also allows those parents information if their student does start to show symptoms, that they know they were, they happen to be in close contact with someone, so they won't assume it's a cold or allergies, so.
And basically the whole picture boils down to, if you're sick, stay home.
And I do know that with some of the conversation that we've had with DHEC and also hearing with some other districts, that they are doing that research on DHEC's side, as in what type of contact is more than likely. I do know that there's some superintendents that are really pushing DHEC to really review that data and make that call and make that decision on what is the
Proper.
kind of, proper, or what is a more kind of, reliable, is it kind of more conducive to the setting? What does that data truly show versus overall? So I do know that they're doing some research from DHEC. Will they change that stance on who to quarantine, who not to quarantine, based on inside the school versus outside the school contacts? So that is the data that we've been trying to track. We did go back and pull our Q to I's and figure out where their contacts had come from.
Yeah. And that's, my whole concern is with the academics, basically, that we're seeing in the schools. We're almost 2 years into this thing, and based off of our testing, kids are struggling. And I think a lot of that has to do with quarantine. A lot of it has to do with shutting down. I know we can't help that. We can't just throw everybody in a germ pool and go at it. I get that, but
there's a flip side to it as well, because you do have people who don't show symptoms, and once you test them, they're positive. So I have to look at it from a different perspective than you.
well, and
That happens.
that's right.
You don't have to show any of the symptoms, and I've known adults to do that as well as children.
Oh no, I agree. And
Grandson, for example, so it happens.
that's my point against the vaccinated people not having to quarantine, is because the whole purpose of the vaccine is to mitigate the symptoms of the virus. So we have vaccinated people that are carrying the virus, that are not showing symptoms, that are not required to quarantine solely because they have the vaccine, but they're still able to transmit it. Yeah. And that's what it's just, either do it all or don't do it at all. It's, really what I'm getting at. Either do it all. Everybody has to quarantine regardless of status, whether you wore a mask or you only quarantine if you test positive, show symptoms, or you have somebody in your household that tests positive. Somebody that you can't get away from. That the asymptomatic issue is the sole purpose of why I brought that motion to the table. It's because the vaccinated people are more than likely going to be asymptomatic.
Dr. Taylor, does your research support what Mr. Neal was saying?
The only other research that I have done based on that, I do know that whenever we did our Q to I's last year, we had 1 to 2% that were turning positive from those that were quarantined to now. Whenever you look at our data this year, that is, it does show that it's a more highly transmittable disease this year based on the past. but we're at 5% of that versus 1 to 2%. So whenever we're looking at our percentage of students that are being quarantined, 95% of those kids don't turn positive. And so whenever you look at it, I can get up here and sell you that either way. I can tell you that, wow, 5% of our kids are turning positive. That's 1 out of 20. But I can also say, well, 95% of our kids aren't even getting sick. You know, so I can sell you that data-wise either way. But the data is, of the 5%, 1%, 1 to 2% of those are contacts inside the building. 2 to 3% of that is contacts outside the building, whether it's family, whether it's after-school programs, whatever, but that's not a school contact. And then I can also say that 95% of our quarantine kids are not turning positive that we know of. You know, that sometimes they may have symptoms, sometimes their parents choose not to get them tested. You know, sometimes they're running out the 10 to 14 days and never let us know one way or the other if they had it. You know, so that 5% is, you know, whenever I go back and look at, let's see if I can get to that data. This right here, we'll look at those last 3 columns on the bottom. That 117, that's our quarantine to isolated numbers. You know, the total 2,398 students, those are the number of students that have been quarantined since the start of school. Some of those are duplicating the same student 3 to 4 times. We do have some kids that are out. They're back in 2 days, they're out again. They're back out 5, 7 days, they're out again. You know, it's just the luck of the draw of how social they are. And so, but that 4.88%, that is higher than it was last year. I can't negate that. I mean, that is a higher spread rate than we had last year. But like I said, I can get up here and spin data either way you want.
And that's why I did specifically state that just based off of what we're seeing, out of that 5%, we are seeing 2 to 3% are coming from outside contact. Majority probably coming from the home. That's why I wanted that included in there. That if you are at home and there's a positive case, that you do not come. You have to quarantine. I don't feel that with 1 to 2% being inside the school, you know, you're talking what, 20 kids out of 2,000?
I think that 117 is made up of about 25, 26 kids.
Yeah, that have been exposed at school.
But we know a lot of kids that got sick but were never quarantined. That the only thing that we can really think of is that they got it from school. So we do know there's some of that the asymptomatic person may have given it to somebody that was in school.
Yeah.
So we don't know those either.
That's right.
But those numbers would not be.
It's not 100%.
Right.
But
So I don't want to say that that's all that would have ever, there may be some that we just didn't know there was.
data-wise, that's what we got to go off of. Yeah.
You know, so whenever you ask me, what does my data show, that's what I show. But whenever you look at guidance from CDC, guidance from DHEC, you know, that's not my job to develop guidance. I can just look at our data, where we are, and that's.
There's been a lot of talk within DHEC and CDC and a lot of school districts of looking at it as in-school exposure versus outside exposure. I have seen a lot of that here recently. And I think that's what you spoke to earlier, that they're trying to work on some more of that data to really nail down where it's coming from. You know, if there is a chance that from their level, they could possibly come in and make some changes to their quarantine policies based off of that information.
And that's where we were hoping they would go
Yeah.
first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's.
Yeah. And so I'm, you know, if you watch this thing from the beginning and how much things have changed regarding masks, regarding vaccinations, regarding quarantine policies, it's trending in a way that I feel when they do finally do this research, it's trending in a way that I see them changing their quarantine policy to something similar to what I'm proposing.
Do we have any further discussion? Okay. So just to repeat again, Mr. Patterson's motion is to change our quarantine policy so that students are only quarantined in certain situations, and those would be certainly if they test positive, if they show symptoms after a close contact, and if they have someone in their home that is tested positive. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. So that's 5, and all those opposed, that's 2. The motion carries. So, Dr. Penland, there may be some, if there's some specifics that need to be addressed there, whether, I don't know if we need to talk about that here, or if that's something that you can work out
I'll reach out
between you
to a
and Dr.
couple of
Thomas.
districts that I know are doing something similar.
Okay.
Get their letters. You know, I don't know an implementation date if somebody's exposed tomorrow. We're not going to have letters ready, that kind of stuff. So if they're, I know y'all have already voted, but I know it's kind of in stone now. But that would be the issue that we ran into right now of what that looks like in reality. The definition of family contact versus household contact. You know, I'd like to kind of hammer out a little bit too.
I guess we have to read along the good honor system as well. If I got somebody, do you think I'm gonna come tell anybody about a family member? Yeah.
Well, that's
A lot to it, but, you know.
that's I would hope that people would be respectful of others enough to care. And I get that you don't get that. I mean, I get that there's an issue with that. There really is. But I would hope, my hope is that we have a good community in this district. We have respectful parents, we have respectful students, staff and administrators, and I would hope that they would respect others and come to us and tell us that.
Yeah,
Right.
because
And
we
I
know
think
how that
this-
path leads both ways.
I think this may take some pressure off as well, so that parents aren't afraid to speak up because they know, okay, if I speak up now, then my child will do X, but then in 3 weeks, they're not gonna have to quarantine again, or, you know, it's not gonna be back to back like some of those examples you were sharing, so. Do we need to put a date on this, or, I know you need time to work through your process.
The issue with the date is going to be if somebody happens in the middle of this week and they need to, you know, I would love a Monday start of next week, just to get everything hammered out, work with my nurses, work with my administrators to really kind of set some protocols and get letters ready. What does that look like? What's the reporting? What's the screening process of if somebody has been in close contact? What does that feel like in our buildings to kind of help with that parent screening, to be able to just educate everybody what to look for, and also and would also have our testing up and ready. If anybody did want to get it screened, we would have that available at the same time.
Is anybody opposed to that? Thank you, Dr. Finley.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Penland. Madam Chair, that concludes the superintendent's report portion of the agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Dr. Penland, looks like you're still up.
To get there. Okay, policies, GCD and GDD, professional staff and support staff vacations and holidays. This is up for second reading. This is for, yes, sir.
Before you go there, grab my Robert's rules. We could, if you wanted to set a date on that, we could make a motion to reconsider the previous motion that was just voted on. And anyone who voted in favor of that could do that. So if that helps, then I think one of the 5 of us that, this is a point of order, by the way,
Sure.
could make a motion to reconsider the previous motion with that amendment. If you need that. If not, then we can move on.
I mean, I would like it to be able to say that it starts November 1st.
Okay.
Just if somebody calls up on Wednesday and said, but I'm not going to have to quarantine next week.
Yeah.
All right.
So
since I voted for it, as a point of order, I'll make a motion to reconsider the previous motion with the amendment of the start date being November 1st.
A second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of adjusting the amendment, raise your hand. All those opposed? So that was 5-2, Ms. Wilson. The motion passes, so November 1st. Dr. Penland.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Thank you, Mr. Varner. Yes.
Just for
please.
clarification, the wording, you all said for administration to come up with that wording for the plan. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
will the board want to have a called, phone call or anything to approve that, or?
I don't think so, as long
Okay.
as it falls within the motion.
Okay, I just want to make sure, okay. That's what I
No.
thought, but I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
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 All right, thank you, Mr. Varner.
So, policies GCD and GDD, second reading. This is where we added Juneteenth as a holiday. We cleaned up the two policies to be consistent with each other. We also clarified the number of vacation days for our support staff that would be available, and this is up for board action at second reading.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find my place here. All right, with the second reading of the policy, we would need a motion in order to move forward to get that policy passed or not.
I make a motion to approve policy GCD, professional staff vacations and holidays, and policy GDD, support staff vacation and holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Is there any conversation or discussion?
Just a few things.
Yes, ma'am.
Like the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, after, prior to Thanksgiving, that's not included. Are those just typical days that you normally get anyway?
That is not an actual vacation day for, in policy. It's just the Thursday, Friday. The way we have typically scheduled school calendars, we have not used that Wednesday as a school day. That is a day that support staff or custodians, they do work that day to clean the school without kids in. And so you would have our maintenance crew or custodians and that kind of thing on site typically on that day. So that is not considered one of the 12 vacation days.
Okay. Because I know it says Thanksgiving 2 days, and I know they always normally get that Wednesday prior to.
In there, it talks about on the support staff one, there's a statement in there that says that one of the groups follows the adopted calendar. So based on where you fall in each one of those, one follows the adopted school calendar, vacation days that are observed, and the other one would be the support days that if you need.
And I've never known the spring break to have a 1 day in it. I saw that, spring break with 1 day.
For support staff, our maintenance crews, our custodians, they work the week of spring break, but they get 1 day during that time.
Any additional discussion? Okay, we'll move forward and vote on the motion to approve the policy GCD, professional staff vacation holidays, and policy GDD, support staff vacation and holidays. All those in favor of this change, please raise your hand. That's unanimous, Ms. Wilson. All right, that motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Penland.
All right, our next policy is policy ADD, face coverings. You had a board work session last month to discuss some policies. This was one of the policies that y'all reviewed. We had discussion around the old policy that we had. Then we also, in the meantime, received a policy, model policy from the School Boards Association. And so what we worked on was providing you a policy for first reading, taking the discussions that you all had based on face coverings, along with the previous policy, along with the model recommendation of ADD from the School Boards Association, and crafted first reading draft for you to review. So as you're reviewing this one, please look at this one to make sure we captured your discussions and your feedback from the work session as we move forward on this policy.
Thank you.
So you will see all three policies included in your packet. So you will have policy ADD that was adopted 8/24/20. Then you'll see ADD Model 21. That's the one from the School Boards Association, and ADD first reading 10/25/21.
Thank you.
Questions?
Mentioned that I was going through the first one, said, no, this has changed.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's better.
So, this will still be a temporary policy, correct?
We did leave it as a temporary policy, and I'll tell you my reasoning, and with Dr. Faulkner sitting here, she may have some feedback on that one too. But my thought on face coverings is whenever we're no longer required to use them, it kind of defeats the purpose on some safety issues. That if somebody walks in the building with a face mask on and a ball cap, you can't tell who they are. So that would be, I know she's high on safety, and that would be one of the things that I could hear her saying as we couldn't tell who it was based on our video. So that's why I would leave it as a temporary policy for now, just in case.
I guess the argument can be made. The whole purpose of the policy is to reduce the spread of infectious disease.
Right. And if you look at first reading of this one, it does say based on community spread and kind of the infection rates of others, and so it could be kind of coming and going based on when it's allowed and when it's not. So. But I mean, I'm not sold on that. It can't be a permanent policy.
Yeah, that's, it's just the wording to figure out how to cover that as well, you know, like you say, because personal opinion, you know.
I mean, come flu season, if COVID's not even in the, or just cold, or if I just want to protect myself because I know I'm about to need to go somewhere or something like that, that's still.
And I think that was Ms. Ware's point when we had originally suspended the policy, was that we had,
Instead of amending,
right,
just
that we at
suspend it
least
because
need
you don't know
something
when you're gonna
there.
have to come back to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
So as we move forward, this can take off temporary and just become policy.
Is that
Thank you.
to get away from the temporary part of it, just,
Right.
yeah.
That's what I didn't want to.
well, originally we had
Right.
suspended the entire policy. And Ms. Ware had brought up that maybe we should at least still have a policy and it just be worded differently than the previous one.
No, I agree with you.
This is far from home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, we have one thing that came out of our work session was a discussion on removing the policy ACB on educational equity. So in order to do that, we would need a motion to consider that.
The purpose of that removal was because we have other policies in place.
It was
It's
an umbrella
stayed the same.
policy, right?
I'll make a motion to remove policy ACB from our active policies.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Just to note, if this policy came down from like the School Boards Association, or they looked at it and we have it in place. Before removing it, would we not want to consult legal or anybody else just to make sure that we could do this? I mean, it was in place for a reason. And I just kind of wondered if we got anybody from legal to look at getting rid of this, because the flip side is, I know educational equity with students, but we have some staff that have some things going on too. So my concern would be, if this was recommended, it's here for a reason. So, you know, before removing it, I would just like to take a stance to look at it because of School Boards Association and what they, you know, have, because it was handed down from them. So there's a legitimate reason for having it. So we're doing away with it altogether in this case.
There are a number of policies that the South Carolina School Board Association pushes to the districts that we don't implement. And this one would be no different. And this particular policy isn't really addressing one particular item of business. It's an umbrella policy that now has to be tied into every other policy we have. And if all of our other policies have come from the South Carolina School Board Association, they already incorporate these pieces into it. I just don't see, I don't see the reason for a separate policy written to override every other policy that we have. If there are key points within this that anyone sees missing from another policy, we should put those in those policies and not an umbrella policy. That's just my thought.
That's generally how policies are done. You know, they're not so specific, oriented. They're broad for a reason, just so it is, most policies are umbrella policies. They're not specific in nature when it comes down to the policy in and of itself.
Well, then,
By
if
that, I
that's
mean-
the case, then we've got a lot of umbrella policies, and then
We
here's
do.
another umbrella
We do,
policy on
because
top of all those.
we
And
do.
I just
We do.
see it as
We do.
unnecessary.
And that's how most policies are. They are not specific, because if you do, you're just speaking on one particular thing. So most policies are broad. That used to always be my hang up with policies. You know, we can live and die by policies, because that's one of the things we're charged with. And if we do that, you know, I just feel like, you know, before removing it, I just take a stance that I think it should still remain intact. But that's my opinion.
I think it's more redundant than
A lot of them overlap. A
And
lot
that
of our policies do overlap, but
and
that's
that's a
just how
problem
policies
when-
are devised.
And I think that's a problem when you have things that are redundant and they're supposed to agree with each other, but then you update one, that means you gotta update both so that they still agree. And I would rather have each of the statements of equity where they are already, in the employment side, in the student side. That's where they really belong. Having one, kind of a broader brush one above it, makes it redundant. It makes it hard to maintain.
Any additional discussion? Okay. We'll bring forth Mr. Garner's motion of removing policy ACB, educational equity, from our policies. All those in favor? That's 5. All those opposed? 2. The motion passes. Thank you. Now we move on to the South Carolina School Board Association School Law Conference reports. Myself, Mr. Hughes, and Ms. Ware were able to attend that conference. Is there anything, Mr. Hughes, that you would like to share? Any takeaways from that particular conference?
It was very educational. what I was most interested in is how they can take a local school board over. I got some information on that, but it was good.
Ms. Ware, would you like
Oh,
to
the same
share
thing.
anything?
That is a biggie with everything now as far as state takeover. It's a very serious matter. Of course, the breakout sessions were always good. You know, avoiding fines like the $10,000 fine you need to know about South Carolina ethics. That too was important, as well as naturally freedom of information and what you could do. And of course, breakout sessions always have good topics as it regards case scenarios that they do present. But what the concern that I had was like when the state takes over and there's no improvement after 3 years, and the whole board can be disrupted and everything. And I say, who knows the area better, our district better than we do? But hey, it is what it is. So
I agree.
getting all our ducks in a row, so we should be that way. And of course, the ESSER funds and what those dollars are being allocated for, hopefully we're using those accordingly. But informative conference, it's been a while since I've gone, and of course this panel discussion that Sunday morning was very, very good, and sustaining, you know, how to maintain your school district even in the midst of a state takeover. And I know for a fact that Allendale has been taken over about 3 times, so that's appalling. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes and Ms. Ware. As I said, I attended the school law conference as well, and I do always enjoy that conference because there's so much information packed in a very short period of time. So it's one of those events that you don't feel like you're ever wasting time because you're always learning something. Probably the most informative session that I sat in on, and I can't remember if it was a general session or a breakout session, was where they were presenting information on freedom of speech related to students and social media and how that impacts schools and districts, and just where that line is drawn. So those were, and they had some very interesting cases, and even some that are in the courts currently that are being hashed out. So I know as a district, you know, and you know, with a high school full of teenagers, there's many things on social media every day that, you know, we may not like or we may not appreciate, but there is a point in which that's their freedom of speech. It's when it starts to encroach upon threats and things of that nature that that the district can step in. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, that was a general session. It was doing Snapchat
Yeah.
and all those things, and what you can have students to do in order to bring about change, be it writing and all that stuff, or, you know, bullying and speech and
Right.
all that, teachable moments for them.
Yeah, that was very interesting for me. All right, thank you guys for that, for sharing. Next on the agenda is the certification of the South Carolina School Board Association delegates that would attend this, the delegate assembly scheduled for December the 4th. At this point, we did not have anyone, we haven't talked about this amongst ourselves, so we didn't have anyone listed on the agenda to vote for, so we would need someone to be, I guess, nominated or volunteer for the actual delegate, and then someone as an alternate for that day on December 4th. And Ms. Wilson, is that in Charleston?
This one's gonna be, yes, in Charleston, and it's tied in with the legislative conference.
Okay.
And I don't have anybody, this is on that Saturday of that conference weekend.
Right.
And we don't have anybody registered to attend the conference or anything, so.
The deadline for rooms has passed, but has the deadline for the conference passed?
No, ma'am, the deadline for the conference has not. But this is the conference that we often have a hard time. They have a very detailed process for trying to request a room, and we have never, I don't think, Ms. Ware, have we ever gotten into the host hotel there, have you?
No,
Mm-mm.
not at all.
So, I mean, but there are overflow hotels, of course, that's
Sure.
not a problem,
Right,
but
right.
there's not anybody registered at this time, so.
Okay. So do we have anyone that would like to be registered for the conference and attend on December 4th as our delegate?
I've got a conflict that evening, so I'm out.
Yeah, I do too.
Unfortunately, that's a big weekend, I think, here in town as well. So when does this have to be turned in? And I assume we have to vote on it, so we would have to do something tonight. Is that correct?
Yes, they have to have it in the office at School Board Association by the 15th of November,
Okay.
so.
Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and vote on someone that could be our delegate and an alternate. And then everyone check their schedules, see what the options are, and we'll kind of figure that piece out before you actually register anybody for the conference, Ms.
Okay.
Wilson.
Is
That
that-
way we have it in place in the event that we can go.
Is there no option to do it outside of the assembly?
I don't know. Ms. Wilson, do
It
you have the
doesn't
answer to
s-
that question?
I was just reading this to see if there was a virtual option, but it does not say on here. Now, I'll be glad to call them tomorrow and ask, but it doesn't specify that here on
Okay.
the information I got from them.
Well, I will volunteer to be the delegate, and then, but I would need someone to volunteer to be the alternate, and that way at least Ms. Wilson can turn those names in and hopefully find out if one of us could do this via
Okay.
a virtual. So,
We don't have to be there for the whole weekend?
and the alternate doesn't even go, is that correct? Like the alternate doesn't have to go unless
Well, if
the
the
delegate?
delegate goes, no, the alternate wouldn't have to be there.
Right.
I think the reason they do that is because they want to make sure that nobody, because it says that they have strict adherence, that only those people approved.
Right.
Well, that doesn't make sense. I mean, because we've been in a situation before where the actual delegate went there and got sick of the day and wasn't able to go, so the alternate had to go. So it don't do no good for the alternate to stay back.
So in the past, the alternates have gone?
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody got sick once. I asked him.
Yeah, Ms. Beeks, that happened to Ms.
Yeah.
Beeks one
Yeah.
time, I believe, now
She
that you
got
bring
sick
that up.
once.
She did, she got sick, I think.
Well, in the essence of time and moving forward, I will volunteer to be the delegate, and if we don't have an alternate, we don't have an alternate.
I think we need
I can't volunteer to do both.
We need-
I know
so-
my schedule's blocked.
I've got, my conflict's been paid for.
Yeah. Everybody's avoiding eye contact.
If we
I'll
need
just
a-
need your signature on the phone. Well, the
Okay.
board will need to take
Do we need to vote
action.
on this?
Yes, please,
Okay.
if you would, take action.
That's, I'll be the alternate if need be.
Okay, let's go with that. So, we would just need a motion for somebody to name, myself as the delegate and Mr. Patterson as the alternate. So,
I'll make the motion. Can I make the motion on myself?
sure.
So I make a motion to approve Kathy Little as the voting delegate and Neil Patterson as the alternate.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. Motion passes. And now we have Mr. Lawless.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Each of you should have received a copy of the financial report as of September 30th, 2021. Our balance on hand with the treasurer was $4,810,070. Our general fund revenues year-to-date through September 30th were $7,728,073, with expenditures for that same period of $8,019,178, for a difference of minus $291,105, which, if you'll recall, is this time of year when there's not a lot of tax collections coming in for the county. So that will ramp up, late November, December, January. Total tax collections for the month of September were $260,766. Overall, we're in a very similar position than we were at this time last year. Anybody have any questions about the financial report? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless. Ms. Wilson, I know previously you had shared that we had a couple of people sign up for public participation.
Yes, ma'am. The first one is Mr. Gregory Fielder, and the topic of conversation is CRT.
Okay. I'm going to read a statement prepared for public participation. Individuals who have submitted the required form for the public participation portion of the meeting are strongly encouraged to maintain appropriate decorum while addressing the board. Please remember that this is a meeting of a public school board, and children may either be in attendance or watching via live stream. Please use appropriate language reflecting the nature of the meeting and its audience. Pursuant to Board Policy BEDH, speakers may offer objective comments on school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit in a public session any expression of personal complaints about school personnel, nor against any person connected with the school system. So the first speaker, Mr. Fetter, can come up. Fielder, excuse me, I apologize. Mr. Fielder. And you do have 3 minutes once it started, and Mr. Finley you'll see a 10-second countdown, and you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
In the name of the Creator and in the spirit of my ancestors, I intend to speak about CRT. That is critical race truth. In the Gospel of John, 8th chapter, 32nd verse, Christ states that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. School District 56 boasts of being red devils. School District 55 is named in honor of the Grand Wizard Henry Lawrence. Your father, Henry Lawrence, is the largest kidnapper, enslaver, raper, robber, maimer, mutilator, and murderer of black human beings in North America. That is the truth. Christ further told the rulers of that day that you are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, because he is a liar and the father of it. The presence of race is not a theory, but a truth. In public, the school board has honored the superintendent. I commend you. I don't know what is said when you are in your private quarters and private meetings in the dark. However, I do know that what you do in the dark will be revealed in the marvelous light. Your words are nice, but your action speaks louder than your words. Those who honor Henry Lawrence believe that black people have no rights that white people are bound to respect. Henry Lawrence was worse than Hitler. Henry Lawrence was worse than Hitler. Henry Lawrence was worse than Hitler. And those who exalt and revere and honor his name as being a part of the school system that all children must attend are worse than Hitler. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Ms. Wilson, our next speaker.
Yes, the next speaker who requested was Reverend David Kennedy, and the topic is racism and injustice.
Okay. Reverend Kennedy, and you'll have 3 minutes on the clock. Thank you.
I'm on 5. You're always trying to control somebody. Let me share this with you all. You all have to stop politicizing these school board meetings. Let the science speak for itself. You are not doctors of medicine, and you're trying to dictate. It's happening all over the nation. Politicizing all of these publicly elected seats. You do not represent the kingdom of God. You don't appreciate diversity. Instead of allowing the superintendent to be the superintendent to lead this district, you all think that you're supposed to be leading. That's outright racism. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Want to destroy anything about equity in education. There has never been equity in education or anything in America. Dr. Martin Luther King said, America has never given us anything. Everything we got, we have to fight for it. And it's a shame and disgrace of what you are doing here tonight. You don't care about diversity. 2 white people going down to be delegates. You don't even put forth the effort. You're trying to lead the superintendent like she's a dog on a chain. Let her be the superintendent. And next month, I guarantee you, you're already up to some schemes to interfere with her contract. But this I say, as president of the Lawrence County branch of the NACP, no longer will we be silent. We will protest at schools. We will protest at your houses. Because racism is fresh and alive in District 55. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You sitting here a few months ago and told us about COVID is not this, COVID is not this, and then the whole school system got affected by COVID. You were trying to act as doctors. These conspiracy theories, the big lie, the former president told, there is a bigger lie told about black people in America. They never got credit. We saw Joe Glenn go into space. They never talked about the hidden figures who put the math together for him to go up there. We will not be silent anymore. We have a constitutional right to protest. We will protest. We will fight because we tired of the nigger games that's being played in this district and the school board member by law.
You are not following the protocol.
Public elected officials
You
are
are not
subject to
following
storm.
protocol.
That's a federal case. You are subject to
I think
storm.
you need to sit down
That's the
and
right.
end your time.
That's the way. You are subject to scorn.
If you would like to speak on the topic that you put out,
We have a right
you're
of freedom
welcome
of
to do
speech.
that.
Freedom of speech. You ought to be ashamed of yourself sitting up here.
Reverend Kennedy, if you want to speak on the topic that you wrote down, you're welcome to do that. But you are not to stand up there and criticize the board or any other person in this district.
Be a champion for the superintendent.
It's time to adjourn. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'd like
on
to
that?
make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Varner. All those in favor?
The school
Thank
board
you.
meeting is over.